Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to identify your customer needs and wants. No matter how good your product or your service is, if your customer doesn't feel like they need it, or they don't believe that they need it, or they just don't want it, you won't be able to persuade them to buy your product or sign up for your service. And so the only way to get them to buy your product or your service is to really understand their needs and their wants. Now, before we go into how do you actually identify your needs and your wants, I want to first talk about the difference between the needs and their wants. So let's talk about needs first. What are needs? So needs are basically something that solves a problem, and that problem could be a real actual problem, right? Or an imaginary problem. So an example of a need is, I'm hungry right now and I need to eat. So that's a need. And then wants they're like emotional needs. They're basically something that you want, whether is it for a rational reason or for an irrational reason. And the interesting thing that you need to know is that wants are actually much more powerful when it comes to selling versus needs, right? The emotional pull gets your potential customer to buy much more powerful than just selling the needs of it. So when we're marketing, we don't just want to talk about the needs, right? We don't just want to say, hey, this is a whiteboard, you need it for writing stuff in your office, right? You need it. We want to also talk about the wants, right? The emotional pull when you buy this whiteboard, for example, right? It could be, the sense of happiness when you're writing something on your whiteboard, your clean, erasable whiteboard. It could be the sense of relief when you finally have a place where you can jot down your thoughts and not just have your thoughts all over the place and eventually you lose what you have in mind, right? It's about also talking about to the wants, so the emotional needs, the emotional pull of buying your product or your service. A lot of marketers, they use the common emotions like fear, anxiety, excitement to market their product or service. For example, right, the most typical ones are the home security companies, where they use fear and anxiety to sell and market their product, right? The fear and anxiety of having someone break into your house at night to promote and sell their products and services. So that is actually using, the emotional need. They're talking to the emotional need, right? So now they're not just saying you need a security system to protect your house, but they're also talking about the fact that you want it because of the emotional fear and anxiety of not having the security system. So now that you know the difference between your customers' needs and wants, let's dive into the actual steps on how to identify your customer needs and wants. The first thing that you gotta do is to first identify your customers. It is impossible to know what their needs and their wants are if you don't even know who your ideal paying customers are. And so in step number 1, you wanna identify your customers, and there are 8 questions that you can ask yourself to kind of figure out who your customers are and more information about them, right? The first question you want to ask is, who are they, right? So if you are a B2C brand, you sell directly to consumers, then, you want to kind of figure out their age, their gender, their race, a little bit more information about them. If you are a B2B, so you're selling to businesses, then you want to figure out what do they sell, right? What does this company sell? Who do they sell to, etc. And then the second question you want to ask yourself is, what do they do? Right? What do they do for work? So do they, are they blue collar workers? Are they professors in a university? Are they entrepreneurs? Are they business owners? So on and so forth, right? So what do they actually do? And then the third question you want to ask yourself is, why do they buy? And this could be, why do they buy your competitor's product or service, right? Why are they buying that, right? And so that kind of gives you a little insight into the wants and the needs that they are currently having. And then the fourth question you want to ask yourself is, when do they buy? Certain products and services are seasonal. And so knowing when do your customers buy your type of product or service is very useful, because you don't want to be promoting something when they're not buying. And the fifth question you want to ask yourself is, how are they buying it, right? Are they buying it online? Are they buying it offline in stores? And then the fifth question you want to ask yourself is, how much money do they have, right? If you're selling to consumers, that's important when it comes to pricing whatever you're selling. When it comes to B2B, that's important because then you know what the budget is, and so you don't overprice your quotation. And then the seventh question is, what makes them feel good about buying? Now, this could be what makes them feel good about buying your product, your existing product or service, so your existing customers, or it could be what makes them feel good about buying your competitors' products or services. Again, this gives you insight into the wants, the emotional needs that they have, right? When they feel good, they feel great about buying, what makes them feel great, right, about buying? And then the last question you want to ask yourself is, what do they expect of you? When your existing customers are buying from you right now, what do they expect from you, right? Do you fulfill a certain need? Do you fulfill a certain desire, a certain emotional need? So those are a couple of questions that you can use to identify your customers. Now that you've identified your customers, let's move into the actual finding out what their needs and wants are. So when it comes to identifying your customers' needs and wants, you want to start by gaining insight into them, right? You have to gain insight into your ideal paying customers. And so there are a couple of things that you can do to gain insight into your customers. The first thing you want to do is to start by having regular conversations with your customers, with your clients. It's super important to constantly have regular conversations with your customers and then understanding what their needs and wants are by listening to what they're responding to your questions, what they're responding to you in your conversation. A lot of times we learn so much from our customers just by asking them questions, just by checking in with them. And so it is super vital that you have regular conversations with your customers. Now, not all customers will have a clear idea of what they want or need. I mean, it's just human nature, right? We don't always know what we need and what we want. And so there are two questions that you can ask them to kind of dive deeper into what they need and what they want. The first question you want to ask them is, what is the problem that you want to solve? Right? What is the existing problem that you want to solve? This is a generic question that prompts them to think deeper. All right, what are the problems that I have and what are the solutions that I am looking out for? And if you want to dive a little deeper and be a little bit more specific, then you can ask them this question: what would you like the product or service to do for you, right? So by asking them clearly, like, hey, I've got this product, I've got this service, what need would you like it to solve? So that could be one of the questions that you ask them. Now, another thing you want to do besides having regular conversations with your customers and listening to them is to ask them actual survey questions and get feedback from them. So that could be literally sending out surveys to your customers or surveying potential customers, or having survey pop-ups on your website, getting them to, answer a couple of questions or to give you a couple of feedback. And one of the interesting things that you might want to ask is their feedback of your brand, your product, your service versus your competitors. Often people don't want to do a comparison between them and their competitors, but I think that is a great way to kind of figure out if there are any missing wants or needs that you're not fulfilling right now. It could give you a deeper insight, a new, fresh perspective into what your customers need or what they want. And then the third thing that you want to do to gain insight into your customer needs or wants is to pay attention to your community and also on social media. Now, here's the best thing about social media. People speak freely on social media, right? They share freely on social media. They share about their needs. They share about their wants. They share about their desires on social media. And so when you tap into what they're sharing on social media, what they're talking about on social media, you start to understand more about your customers' needs and wants. And so there are a couple ways to pay attention to what your customers are sharing on social media. You can do that by using tools that basically sends you an alert when someone mentions a certain keyword, right? It could be a keyword about fitness, it could be a keyword about marketing, a keyword about your brand name, your competitor's brand name. Those are great for alerting you when your customer or your potential customer is talking about, the needs and the wants that they have with regards to whatever you're selling. And one of the tools that I recommend is Google Alert. It's free, it's great. It's a basic tool by Google that allows you to receive alerts when someone posts something on Google. Another tool that I recommend is Mention. Mention picks up, keywords when someone posts on Twitter or Facebook about your brand, again, about keywords that is related to whatever you're selling. So those are the two tools that I recommend when it comes to getting alerts about what your customers are sharing about on social media and in your community, so that you can really identify their needs and their wants. Now, let's talk about the most common needs that your customers might have. There are a couple here that I've written down. The first one is functionality and features, right? they might be looking for, certain functionality and certain features when it comes to a product or service. The second one is price, something that's priced within their price range, their budget. The third need could be, something related to time and convenience, something that helps them get things done faster, get to a certain place faster. The fourth is terms of service. This typically is applicable for B2B brands and companies, right? It could be a privacy term of service. The fifth one is, the way it looks, right? People are looking for certain things that look a certain way. The sixth thing is the design, right? It could be a certain design requirement, so maybe usability. Now, the seventh thing is the status and identity. So, they want to reach a certain status and certain identity. It could be, wearing a shirt with a certain logo that helps them to reach that status and identity. And then the next one is reliability and durability. So if they're buying, an equipment, for example, then they definitely want it to last. They're looking out for durability. And then next one is performance. So for example, if I were to buy a new laptop, I expect it to be, fast, to load things fast, for example. And then next thing is safety. So if I'm buying a car, I need my car to be of a certain safety standard, right? And then the last one is sustainability. So, eco-friendly stuff that is great for the environment. That could be a certain need for that. So those are the common needs that your customers might have. Now, I want to share an example with you over here, and I drew this Ford logo that turned out to be pretty ugly. But the example I want to share with you is about Henry Ford. Henry Ford was the guy who invented an automobile, and back then people were looking for a faster way to get around with their horses. So here's the interesting part. Henry Ford said that if he were to ask his customers what they wanted, his customers would have said that, they wanted faster horses. Now, instead of giving his customers exactly what they wanted, which were faster horses, what Henry did was to give them a faster mode of transportation using horsepower. So giving them the first ever automobile. So that's something to think about as well, right? Your customers might tell you that they need certain things, they might want certain things, but at the end of the day, they might not have the information or the knowledge to ask for what is best for them. So I hope you found this useful in helping you identify your customer needs and wants. Don't forget to leave me a comment below if you've got any questions about identifying your customers' needs or wants, or if you've got a comment about the video itself. If you like this video and you found it useful, don't forget to hit the like button and also to hit the subscribe button if you have not already subscribed to the channel. If you want to be notified when the next video goes live, don't forget to hit the bell button as well. Now, in the meantime, as you wait for my next video, don't forget to go check out this video to learn more about online marketing and online business. Alright guys, appreciate it. See you in the next video.